Have you ever seen someone you thought was gone? Then years later, they're standing right in front of you, pouring coffee with scars that tell stories you never expected? That's exactly what happened to Caleb Hartman, a war veteran who froze when he locked eyes with a waitress named Raina Jefferson. Her arm burned and marked, hiding a tattoo from a unit. They've both once served in a unit that lost their combat medic, KJ. Everyone believed KJ was dead in Fallujah, but here she was, quietly enduring cruelty, serving food, and carrying something far heavier than shame. What unfolded next wasn't just a confrontation, it was the start of a battle no one saw coming. Let me back up a bit. Raina had mastered the art of steady breathing, not for her own pain, but for the poison hurled at her every Tuesday at Ray's Diner. That's where Travis Langdon and his crew, a trio of corporate bullies, made their weekly appearance, turning pancakes and coffee into a stage for humiliation. Travis, loud and arrogant, barked jokes about her burned skin, while his sidekick Elliot Crane followed like a bad echo, chuckling at every insult. Raina's hands never trembled as she poured their coffee black. No sugar, her clean white shirt and black apron barely hiding the twisted scars from old fires, the proof of a past they mocked but couldn't understand. Across the room, Caleb sat in a corner booth, his eyes glued to Raina, not because of the burns he'd seen worse, but because of the faint tattoo peeking from beneath her sleeve, a faded number linked to the medic they lost in combat. His coffee went cold in his hand as memories crashed down. KJ had disappeared during a night raid, saving lives before the explosion took her, or so they thought. Now here she was, serving coffee to the very men who mocked her. Travis was oblivious, cracking more jokes, but Raina smiled politely, deflecting with grace. That smile, that quiet strength was enough to make Caleb lean in. He approached her, steady but charged, calling her by the name they both knew, asking where she served. Raina's eyes narrowed, the waitress mask slipping for a moment to reveal the soldier beneath. 1st Infantry Division. Big Red 1. Fallujah, Caleb said, and the room seemed to fall away. She whispered back, "Have you ever seen someone die, then pour your coffee years later?" Caleb sat down, the weight of that question hanging between them. Travis, caught filming the scene, laughed it off, mocking her again. But Caleb saw a different fight, a soldier preparing for battle, this time not on foreign soil, but against ignorance and cruelty in a diner. Raina moved through the room with that same measured grace she once had under fire, calculating, assessing, not a victim, but a strategist. Then came the moment that changed everything. Travis barked for her to smile for his followers, using his phone like a remote control, throwing shade about her skin tone. Calm, tight-lipped, Raina warned him to stop recording, and when he sneered and defied her, the diner's manager, Miguel Torres, stepped in, citing Texas law about consent and harassment. The room shifted. Silence fell, but the tension hung thick. Suddenly, a man in a nearby booth choked on his food. Panic erupted, but Raina was already there, performing the Heimlich with textbook precision, saving the man's life right before their eyes. The laughter died. Applause rippled softly. The air changed. Raina wasn't just the waitress. She was a hero walking among them. Caleb intercepted her afterward, acknowledging her perfect form, the KJ he remembered from combat. "Still am," she said quietly, revealing how she survived the explosion, vanished without a trace, listed as Jane Doe, invisible to the system, her scars the only proof she existed. No papers, no benefits, no one to vouch for her. Caleb clenched his jaw. "You were a hero before the scars, and you still are." She nodded. "Heroes don't serve coffee to the people who mock them. But soldiers do worse when the war comes home." And that was why Caleb was there. He came for coffee, but stayed for the fight. Together, they began gathering proof recordings of Travis and his crew's racist, harassing behavior, coded language designed to push out veterans and people of color without legal consequences. 6 months of data, compiled meticulously, ready for the fight ahead. Raina wasn't about revenge. She was about justice. When a journalist, Lena Marquez, Araveda, fierce independent, who Caleb once saved, they knew it was time. The next Tuesday, the usual crowd showed up, but so did a new energy. Lena sat quietly, recording every moment as Travis and his cronies continued their usual routine, unaware that their reign was about to crumble. Travis's arrogant provocations went unanswered as Raina calmly served coffee, her strength palpable. When he tried to bait her again, even his psychic faltered. The atmosphere shifted. The room held its breath. After closing, Raina and Caleb uploaded the evidence to lawyers, veteran groups, and media contacts. The campaign had officially begun. The fallout was swift and brutal. Travis tried to dismiss it as fake news and prank videos, but the truth spread like wildfire. Social media exploded with support for Raina and the veterans who came forward. Veterans, some in wheelchairs, others wearing faded patches, gathered at the diner not for attention but solidarity, each silently thanking the woman who refused to disappear. Langdon and Crane's empire crumbled as clients dropped contracts and sponsors pulled funding. Internal investigations were launched, board members resigned. But Raina knew the battle was far from over. The threats grew more sinister: vandalism, fake reviews, anonymous hate mail, but she stood firm, backed by Caleb, Miguel, and the growing community that refused to stay silent. Then came the day Travis Langdon returned, this time alone. No cameras, no bravado trying to clear his name. But one by one, 12 veterans stood up, sharing stories of Raina's bravery in combat, confirming the truth she carried in her scars. The arrogance shattered. Langdon fled, leaving behind a legacy of fear now replaced by courage. Behind the scenes, Raina testified before the Senate Subcommittee on Veterans Affairs, her story forcing a national reckoning on workplace discrimination against veterans. Her calm, steady voice filled the chamber as she detailed not just her survival in war, but the invisible battles at home. "Start by believing us, especially when we're not in uniform," she said. The words became a rallying cry. The diner transformed from a place of daily grind into a sanctuary, an archive of unseen sacrifice, where scars weren't hidden but honored. Veterans brought photos, letters, patches. Stories once silenced found a voice. Raina never sought the spotlight, but her presence sparked change: corporate reforms, policy proposals, educational curriculums teaching empathy and resilience. And just when it seemed she might step back, a call came from Brigadier General Louise Merrick, inviting her to join a national task force on veteran reintegration and workplace equity. Recognition, yes, but also responsibility. Raina accepted, knowing the mission wasn't over. Years later, Ray's Diner stood on Veterans Row, its walls covered with murals and plaques, a testament to strength and stillness. Raina and Caleb watched new faces come in: young veterans, students, families, all drawn by the legacy of a woman who refused to vanish. One evening, Travis Langdon returned quietly. No cameras, no suits, just a man ready to own his mistakes. He confessed, donating his fortune to veteran mental health programs, asking only that his last word not be his alone. Raina looked him in the eye and said, "It still is." The final scene wasn't applause or headlines. It was Raina drying a single coffee cup behind the counter, a quiet reminder that the story never ends, that the fight continues not with noise, but with presence. So what do you think, folks? When the war doesn't end, when the battles move from battlefields to boardrooms and diners, where does justice live? Is it in silence, in noise, or somewhere in between? I want to hear your thoughts. Show, do we recognize strength when it's wrapped in scars and quiet dignity? Drop your perspective in the comments. Share your own stories if you dare. And if this story moved you even a little, hit that like button and subscribe. Because the next voice, the next scar turned into strength might just be yours.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình là mình lên mạng xã hội.
Vamos supor, você falou negócio sério. It is cold, yeah. Next one? Alright. Please. After the tree to hold on to. Yeah. They're defense. Super.